Yesterday, I had a gut feeling that my period was gonna start today, and lo and behold, it did. Now, I figured that this would give me the perfect opportunity to talk about the period routine that I have created for myself and also update you guys on my journey with PMDD. As some of you may know, earlier last year I was diagnosed with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and at the time it really felt like, as much as it sucks, it gave me an answer. I was finally feeling like things were making sense. It provided me with a lot of just confirmation and validation because, especially as women, when we are going through things, sometimes we start to convince ourselves that it's just in our head because we have, people telling us that, oh, like, it's just your period, it's just this, it's just that, but, sometimes it's not just. And in my case, it was something a lot more severe. I quite literally just started my cycle, so I am definitely dealing with some cramps. I personally get really, really, really bad cramps. I always have. And the only thing that helps me is heat, specifically this heating pad. It's electric, so it stays really hot consistently for as long as you need it to. So that's why I really like this one. I highly recommend getting an electric heating pad if you don't have one already. And last night, because I knew my period was coming, I put on my NYX period underwear. I personally love period underwear because it just is a little bit extra security, just knowing that if I do start, I don't have to immediately frantically, get my cup in. I can just go back to sleep and deal with it later. But as far as daytime goes, I am a big fan of the NYX menstrual disc. Last year, I filmed a video trying this out and it was totally unsponsored. That video did really well and it ended up getting back to NYX, and they were like, we want to give you a code and a link so that anyone that wants to buy a menstrual disc from them can get a little discount. So I'll pop it up on screen right now. It's just my name, Genevieve 15. If you do want to check it out, I highly recommend it. I have been using this ever since and it works so great. I personally think this is way more comfortable than a traditional menstrual cup. I still have yet to put this in. I had to boil it this morning, so it is all good to go. I also made a matcha because personally I have learned that having coffee on my period or even leading up to my period is not a good idea because it just makes my cramps 10 times worse, and I can barely stand when I'm having cramps to begin with. So when I have coffee, it's not a fun time. But matcha is actually really good to have on your period because it's really high in antioxidants, which is just really good for your body, but also it's going to give you a gentle energy boost, which will help combat that period menstrual fatigue that I feel like a lot of us experience. I experience it a lot. I'm gonna read and get this heating pad on my stomach. So I do not work out on my period. It is just something that is not in the cards for me. I feel like already my energy is low, and if I push myself when I'm not on my period, I usually get energy from working out, but when I'm on my period, if I try to push myself, I just literally fall flat on my face and can't do anything. So when I'm on my period, it is really about choosing what is the most important things that I need to be doing and what can wait. And right now, the most important things that I need to be doing are some work-related tasks, which luckily I can do from my desk. So I can have my heating pad on. I just made a smoothie, so I'm gonna start sipping on this while I get to editing. I kind of wanted to go back to the time when I filmed my original PMDD video, when I had just opened up about my diagnosis with PMDD and just compare and contrast to where I was at then and where I am at now. So after I got my diagnosis, I was super relieved to finally have an answer. As I mentioned earlier in this video, like it felt very validating, like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. I have a official medical condition, and it was at least a little bit comforting knowing that, okay, there's a reason why life feels so hard right now. I was definitely going through a lot, and I mean a lot of ups and downs. Particularly a lot of downs. What used to be my reality was having like maybe one good week out of the month, and then I would have my luteal phase, my menstrual phase, my PMDD would be at its worst. I would have pretty much daily panic attacks. I didn't feel very capable. I didn't feel like myself. I just couldn't seem to shake this feeling of just being really, really anxious and feeling like my life was just falling apart. And then once my period would end, I would have basically a week where literally all I could do was just try to recover. So you can imagine that throughout that time, I was very much in survival mode, and I found everything that I love doing, everything that I want to be doing, so difficult. And in the past, I had tried 2 different medications and neither of them worked. So I ended up going back to my doctor, and he prescribed a different medication, and he also recommended trying a different cycle with my medication. And this is the big thing that changed my entire life, honestly. So the medication I'm currently taking is called citalopram, and I think in this case, it's not necessarily about what medication you're taking. I think it's more about the cycle in which you are taking it. I think this could apply to whatever medication you're on potentially, but however, this medication is definitely working for me personally. Like, it's working so much better than the other ones that I tried. For the luteal phase and my menstrual phase, aka the bad weeks, I go up in dose. So instead of taking 1 pill like the other weeks, I take 2 pills. So I'm doubling the dose. During that time, there's a change in hormone levels, and when you have PMDD, that shift feels so awful. But with the medication, now I have more of a tolerance to that hormone change, and I can pretty much go on functioning normally, which feels so unreal to say. So now looking at my month in a life, I pretty much can anticipate still having 1 to 2 days where I pretty much just experience typical PMS. Like, you know, I feel really tired, I feel crampy and bloated and kind of moody, things make me cry easily. But other than that, I feel like my normal self. Ever since I made those changes, I have not had any panic attacks. I've still experienced bouts of anxiety from time to time, but it was more or less caused from external sources. But I'm doing so much better. Another thing that I found extremely helpful though is making sure that I switch up my activities and my environment frequently. If I'm doing one thing for too long or in a certain room for too long, then that is usually when the dark and twisties, the anxiety can come up. Also, definitely having a consistent morning and nighttime routine is vital. So when you're in that stressed mode, that anxious or depressed mode, then you know you can do these set things that you already decided on earlier and you're gonna start feeling a little bit better. And also another thing that I have really been finding helpful lately is having a consistent fitness routine. So of course during the good weeks, it's like a no-brainer. I enjoy it. I'm doing it because I have energy and everything. And then during my luteal phase, I've found that my fitness routine actually is able to help me extend my good weeks into my luteal phase. I still, as I mentioned, I do not work out on my period, at least for the first 2 to 3 days when I'm having really bad cramps and I'm really tired. So now pretty much where I'm at is just making sure that I continue with this routine, continue with my work routine, and continuing with my medication cycle. And I'm just hoping that this keeps working, because truly the past 3 months have been the best 3 months that I've had in the last like 3 years. But yeah, that is my PMDD update. That is my period routine. There's honestly not that much to it, but I'm really hoping that this can at least help a couple people. It is just so hard being a woman, being someone that has a period. If you are currently struggling with PMDD or any type of mental health struggle, I really want to just send so much love your way, and I want you to know that at some point you're gonna find something that helps. Honestly, I was so hopeless for so long, thinking like, okay, like nothing's working. And now that I've found something that has worked, I am so grateful. So just know that it's gonna get better, and that these challenges, they do not mean that you are weak. They mean that you are incredibly strong. Anyway, make sure to subscribe while you're here. Here's my Instagram if you would like to see more content from me. And until next time, I will talk to you in my next video.